Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this video. Today we're going to talk about that Fantastic Four movie. Yes, the newest one in Fox's line to try to keep the rights to the Fantastic Four out of Marvel's hands. The fourth Fantastic Four movie we've gotten so far, and I've got to scream this at the top of my lungs. I've got to go to the highest mountain. I have got to let all this out at once. This movie is okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's not great. Not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination. It's okay. Let me explain this. Let me try to break it down and explain it in a way that doesn't make me look like a dumbass. This movie feels like two different movies. And the movie, of course, was directed by Josh Trank of Chronicle fame. Chronicle being one of the best superpower movies we've had in the last decade. And he certainly did good on that movie. So you'd think he could do good here. Well, the problem with that is Chronicle was such a different tone. And I'm trying to find the right words. This Chronicle was a very dark, gritty movie. My lunch trying to come back up on me. Fantastic Four is nothing like that. So that's where this movie hits a snag, where it looks like it's two different movies competing for which one's gonna prevail. There are parts in the movie that are without a doubt Josh Trank all the way. They're dark, they're gritty, they're almost horror movie-esque. Now, as I continue on with the discussion, I am going to bring in slight spoilers, so if you don't want anything spoiled, I would pause right here. I'll take about 10 minutes, or 10 seconds, to pause right here. Maybe go watch the movie, come back, or just, click off the video. Okay, you good? You good? Spoiler warning out there? Okay. Now, in one part of this movie, after Reed and Johnny and Victor and Ben all grow to the negative zone of Planet Zero, as they're calling it in the movie, they get their powers. Some stuff happens, they get their powers, and they hold the four people, the Fantastic Four, or the people who become the Fantastic Four, in this cell, and they show each one in different cells, and they show each one of them, and they show their powers. And they're showing Franklin Storm, Professor Storm, who is the father of Sue Storm and Johnny Storm. They're showing his daughter and his son, and one of them's on fire, screaming, and one of them's shifting in and out of reality, and you kind of see through her skin, and it's very disturbing in tone. But the creepiest and most kind of disturbing part was Reed Richards, when they show him stretched out on this bed. Now, you've probably seen it in the trailers, but he's stretched down, and his arms are stretched out, his legs are stretched out, and he's laying in his bed. And the tone of it feels almost like a horror movie. And that part fits this tone of what Josh Trank described he wanted for the Fantastic Four movies. When you hear him describe what he wanted and who inspired him, movies like Cronenberg's The Fly is something he mentions, and you feel that in those scenes. But then you get other scenes that feel like a completely different movie altogether. You get these scenes that are kind of upbeat, kind of fun, action-y, and it feels like two different filmmakers, two different directors, making the same movie, but each one's taking their own individual scene and shooting it tonally different from each other. Especially at the end, and again, this is a big spoiler. The end of the movie, they get basically the Baxter Building, or the Future Foundation, or whatever you want to call it. Fox has said that they're going full steam, and they're still making the sequel, so it could, well, we may find out then if they make it, but they're joking, they're kind of laughing, and it has this upbeat feel, and those moments feel like the Fantastic Four, closer to the comic books that we know, and the animated series that we know. And I'm starting to think that maybe the rumor that Matthew Vargan, the man who of course did X-Men First Class, and I believe Kingsman, the Secret Service. Yep, he did Kingsman too. Went back and reshot scenes for the movie. And this is starting to hit some, validity, because you have these scenes that feel closer to like Kingsman and X-Men, and my fan fell over, and these scenes feel closer to Fantastic Four and closer to the comic books. But then you have these scenes that are dark and gritty and realistic and downright disturbing at some points. So, let me state first, this is not the worst superhero movie ever made. Batman and Robin, Superman Quest for Peace, Daredevil, Catwoman, these are far worse. But it's not great. And the biggest problem is the movie can't make up its mind on what it wants to be. Does it want to be the lighthearted, funner action movie that we get from possibly director Matthew Vargan, or the darker, more realistic, downright disturbing at times movie we get from Josh Trank? And to be honest, the last scene of this movie, before the credits roll, is probably the best part, because it completely illustrates the Fantastic Four. It was at that one moment that all of their personalities matched, and that it worked, that it just worked, and that I could believe this is the Fantastic Four. If Matthew Vargan, sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, I'm terrible at it, did shoot those scenes, then he needs to make number 2. If Fox is going to go full steam ahead with this, and they're not giving up on it, then they just need to give him number 2. Because those were the scenes that were beautiful in this movie. Those were the scenes that made me go, this is the Fantastic Four. And, I gotta give it to Josh Trank. He's not a bad director, and I don't think his movie would have been bad. I just think what he was going for would have never worked in today's superhero movie market. And I think that what they managed to do was okay, schizophrenic at times, and weird and wonky in certain places, but I think it shows more potential than any Fantastic Four movie we've ever had. And I think if they just give it to the man who single-handedly brought back the X-Men franchise, to the man who launched Kingsman: The Secret Service, a series that I believe most people didn't realize were comic books until the movie, I think it could be really, really good with this cast and the right tone. And what they set up seems like it would be awesome. A lot of people lost hope for the Fantastic Four after this movie came out, because they said it was the worst superhero movie of all time. I actually have more hope for this franchise than I've had in the last 8 years. I have more hope in this franchise than I've had since the animated cartoon they did a while back. I have a lot of hope in this franchise now. And maybe I just love shitty movies. Maybe I'm just bad at judging what a good movie should be, but if we get past all the people telling us we should hate this movie and how much we should hate this movie and how much it sucks because of this or this or this, and you pick out these moments, these nuggets of genius that, if they're done by Josh Trank, he needs to just do. If these were what he was going for, then great. But there's just these nuggets of light-hearted action-adventure, space exploration, just craziness that I noticed throughout watching the movie, and I just kept going, wanting to go back. I wanted more of that, and that's the problem. This movie can't decide if it wants to be the dark, gritty, almost like David Cronenberg's The Fly horror movie that Josh Trank wanted it to be, or this light-hearted action-adventure movie that it just so badly needs to be. The CG is wonky. The design is wonky. It's wonky. And I think if Fox is going to keep doing this, and they're set on doing a sequel to this one, not rebooting, not restarting, just going, fuck it, we're going to make a sequel to this one, Fantastic Four 2, that we told you about, is happening, period, end of discussion. Then whoever did the reshoots, whoever filmed that ending, and whoever did the lighter, funnier moments in that movie needs to be the one to do it. If that is Matthew Vergar, then he needs to do it. Because those scenes were great. The rest of the movie couldn't be good because you had scenes like that shined above all. Scenes that made you go, screw it. I mean, I believe in this movie. Is it good? Not really, but I actually believe in this movie. I mean, I said in a packed movie theater full of people, there had to be 100 people in that movie theater, and at the end of this movie, they clapped. Now, either 100 people were retarded, and this movie is the piece of horseshit that everyone says it is, or there's something actually to this movie that critics and people are just glossing over and not paying attention to. It falls short, but not in the ways people say it does. Not in the ways people think. It falls short because the parts that need to be emphasized are obviously reshoots, are obviously done by someone else, and whoever did those shots, dear God, bring them back. At the end of the day, the Fantastic Four, or Fantstic, whatever the hell you want to call it, is not the worst superhero movie ever made. Because the parts that you hate are outshined by parts that you will love. And I just... you could say I could defend any movie. And I could defend Batman and Robin as maybe it wasn't that bad of a movie. And frankly, Batman and Robin wasn't that bad of a movie. It just wasn't what everyone wanted it to be. And that's what I think Fantastic Four or Fantstic is. It's not what everyone wanted it to be. Everyone wanted it to be how Marvel was doing their movies, or how Warner Brothers is doing their movies, and DC. And no one really wanted it to be Fox. Yet Fox put their stamp on it. And the parts that you can tell are filmed by someone else, that are done by someone else, they work. They're done well. And it gives me hope again for this franchise. I don't think there's more I can say other than the movie's okay. If you gotta pay $10 to see it, maybe wait. If you can pay $5 like I did to see it, go see it. At the end of the day, Fox, if you're gonna double down, then whoever you got to do those reshoots, that's who needs to direct the next one.